You know what a Lakota war leader, a Holocaust survivor, and a Greek philosopher who insulted Alexander the Great all have in common? They were impossible to control. They shared 5 psychological traits that made manipulation bounce off them like rain off stone. And here's what's wild. Neuroscience now backs up exactly why these traits work. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down all 5. And by the end, you'll know exactly which ones you're missing and how to build them. Let's get into it. 1876, Montana Territory. The U.S. Army is closing in on one of the largest gatherings of Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors in history. General Custer rides in with the 7th Cavalry. Confident, aggressive, loud. His men are trained to intimidate, shock, and awe, overwhelm the enemy psychologically before the first shot. And then there's Crazy Horse. No war paint, no war cry, no decorations, while every other warrior around him is performing aggression. Screaming, charging, displaying dominance. Crazy Horse rides in calm, quiet, almost invisible. And that terrified people more than any war cry ever could. Because you can't predict a man you can't read. You can't intimidate someone who doesn't flinch. And you can't manipulate someone who isn't performing for you. Crazy Horse led the charge that destroyed Custer's force, not with rage, with clarity. Here's the thing, that psychological immunity he carried into battle, it's the same thing that makes someone impossible to manipulate in everyday life. In arguments, in relationships, at work. That's what we're breaking down today. If you're already seeing where this is going, hit that like button. It helps more people find this. And subscribe, because we're going deep on this one. Sign 1, they don't react, they observe. Here's how most people get manipulated. Someone says something that hits a nerve. Your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, and before your brain even catches up, you've already reacted. Snapped back, defended yourself. Said something you'll regret in an hour. That's exactly what the other person wanted. Because manipulation doesn't work on people who are thinking clearly. It only works when you're emotional. When your limbic system, the reactive survival-driven part of your brain, takes the wheel away from your prefrontal cortex. Dr. Matthew Lieberman at UCLA found something powerful. When you name the emotion you're feeling, literally say to yourself, I'm feeling anger right now. It reduces amygdala activation by up to 50%. Half, just from labeling it. That's not meditation, that's not deep breathing. That's just recognizing what's happening inside you before you act on it. Crazy Horse didn't ride into battle numb. He rode in aware. There's a massive difference between someone who doesn't feel anything and someone who feels everything but chooses what to do with it. The person who can't be manipulated isn't the one who doesn't feel the trigger. They're the one who feels it and pauses. Here's what to practice. Next time someone says something that lights you up, don't respond for 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, name it. That's anger. That's shame. That's guilt. Just name it. Watch how fast the urge to react loses its grip. Sign 2. They know their triggers and they've disarmed them. This one goes deeper. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist. Brilliant man, successful practice, a life that made sense. Then the Nazis took everything, his family, his manuscript, his freedom. He was sent to Auschwitz, one of the most brutal concentration camps in history. The guards had total physical control. They could starve him, beat him, humiliate him, and they did. But here's what Frankl discovered in that hell, and it's one of the most important psychological insights ever recorded. He said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our freedom and our power to choose our response. That space. That tiny gap between what happens to you and what you do about it. Manipulators try to eliminate that gap. They want you reactive, not reflective. They provoke, guilt trip, gaslight, push buttons, all to get you out of that space and into autopilot. Dr. Dan Siegel calls this your window of tolerance. It's the zone where you can think clearly, regulate your emotions, and make good decisions. When someone pushes you outside that window, into rage or into shutdown, you're no longer in control. And here's the key. Everyone has specific triggers that knock them out of that window. For some people, it's being ignored. For others, it's being accused of something unfair. For others, it's the silent treatment. The person who can't be manipulated has done the work to map their triggers. They know exactly what pulls them out of that window. And because they know, they see it coming. Dr. Stephen Hayes, the creator of acceptance and commitment therapy, calls this cognitive diffusion. Instead of I am furious, you shift to I'm noticing that I feel furious. Sounds like a small change. It's not. That shift moves processing from your emotional brain back to your logical brain. Try this. Write down 3 things that consistently get under your skin. Be honest. Now ask yourself, why those things? What's the deeper wound? When you understand the root, the trigger loses its power. Not all of it, but enough. Point 3. They don't need your approval. This is where it gets uncomfortable. 323 BC. Alexander the Great, the most powerful human being on the planet, walks up to Diogenes, a Greek philosopher who lives in the street. Literally lives in a large clay jar. Owns nothing. Alexander stands over him, offers him anything he wants. Anything. Land, gold, power, protection. Diogenes looks up and says, "Yeah, move. You're blocking my sunlight." That's not rudeness, that's freedom. Because when you truly need nothing from someone, they have zero leverage over you, none. Every manipulation tactic in existence relies on one thing, that you want something from the manipulator. Their approval, their love, their validation, their presence. The moment you need those things more than you need your own self-respect, you're controllable. Research in attachment theory backs this up hard. People with anxious attachment, those who prioritize connection over self-protection, are the most vulnerable to manipulation. Not because they're weak, because they'll override their own instincts to keep a relationship alive. Securely attached people, they value connection too, but they won't sacrifice their own judgment to maintain it. There's a line, and they don't cross it. Real quick, if this is hitting home, drop a comment. Be honest. How many times have you ignored your own gut feeling just to keep someone happy? No judgments. We've all done it. The fix here isn't becoming cold, it's becoming anchored. Know what you value, know what you stand for, know what you won't tolerate. When that's clear, nobody's approval feels worth trading your identity for. Point 4, they recognize the pattern, not just the words. Here's what most people don't realize. Manipulation almost never sounds like manipulation. It sounds like concern. It sounds like love. It sounds like, "I'm just trying to help." After everything I've done for you. That sentence, that one sentence, has controlled more people than any threat ever could, because it disguises guilt as gratitude. It reframes selfishness as sacrifice. And most people fall for it because they're listening to the words, not the pattern. Robert Greene wrote about this extensively. The most dangerous people don't announce their intentions. They hide them inside gestures that look generous, questions that sound innocent, and favors that come with invisible strings. The person who can't be manipulated doesn't just hear what you're saying. They track what you're doing. Over time, consistently. They notice. Every time I set a boundary, this person has a crisis. Now, every time I say no, they bring up something I did wrong 6 months ago. Every time I pull away, suddenly they're the sweetest person alive. That's not love. That's a pattern. Dr. Andrew Huberman talks about how your autonomic nervous system responds to perceived threats before your conscious mind even registers them. That gut feeling you get around certain people, the one you keep ignoring, that's your nervous system recognizing a pattern your brain hasn't caught up to yet. Start tracking behavior, not words. If someone's words say, "I care about you," but their pattern says, "I care about controlling you," believe the pattern. Always believe the pattern. Point 5, they're willing to walk away. This is the one most people won't do, and it's the one that makes all the others work. Serena Williams spent decades under psychological attack, media tearing her apart, opponents trying to rattle her, crowds working against her, commentators questioning everything from her body to her temperament, to her right to be on the court. She felt all of it. She's spoken about how much it affected her, but here's what separated her. She never let it determine whether she stayed or left on her own terms. She competed on her terms. She retired on her terms. Every major decision was hers. Sam Harris, neuroscientist and mindfulness researcher, talks about this as non-identification. You can observe a thought, feel an emotion, experience pressure, without becoming it, without letting it author your next decision. But here's where this gets real for your life. The ultimate power in any dynamic, any relationship, any negotiation, any argument, belongs to the person who's genuinely willing to walk away. Not as a bluff, not as a manipulation tactic of your own, but as a real grounded recognition that no relationship, no job, no friendship is worth more than your own psychological freedom. Most people can't do this, because walking away means risking the thing they fear most: being alone, being rejected, being the bad guy. But here's the truth. The moment you'd rather be alone than be controlled, you become the hardest person in the room to manipulate. Period. That doesn't mean you walk away from everything. It means you can, and people feel that. They feel it in how you carry yourself, how you respond to pressure, how you hold a boundary without blinking. Hit that like button. It pushes this to people who need to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't. Next week, the psychology of people who never explain themselves and why everyone respects them more. drop a comment. Which of these 5 signs is the one you struggle with most? Be honest, that's where the real work starts.